How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Hi, Chris.
Hey,
Good.
good. So we'll get started here in just a second. Give people another just minute here just to get on, but looks like we got a lot more than my first meeting, so I'm happy about that. All right, so for this meeting here, we're going to kind of go over some club infrastructure stuff that we've been doing this year and what we're doing next year. Go over what our two teams in this age group kind of did this year and compared to what they've done in the past. A little bit of talk about what our plans for next year are with both these groups. And then also wanted to leave some time at the end for questions or comments or anything that anybody wants to share. These meetings are kind of strict on a 30-minute call, so we'll end right at 6. Zoom will kick us off at about 6:02 anyways, I think is what they did to us yesterday at my meeting. So if we do end up not being able to finish everybody's questions, I will say please give me an email afterwards, and I'm happy to answer anything that way. And if I'm talking and you guys have a question, just feel free to speak up whenever you need, and we can kind of address that stuff as we go. But feel free to ask anything you guys might have. All right, so infrastructure stuff for the club this year. We added some of these age group coordinators, myself, Jason Hauer, and Sam Tweeten, to kind of help support coaches. Just a way to add a bunch of administrative support, but as well as support on the field. In a lot of clubs, coaches kind of get put out. They get their team, they go to their sessions, and they're kind of on their own little islands. And there's not a lot of cohesiveness throughout the club between the teams. And this was our attempt to try and fix that, or try and just help and provide a little bit more support for these coaches. And through my experience, I feel like it was a great success. I got to see a lot of teams. I was out there at trainings at least once or twice or 3 times with each team. Myself as the 11v11 boys coordinator, Jason with the 9v9 groups, and Sam with the girls. And it was great. It was a great way to just keep checking in with coaches, make sure they had everything we need for player cards, rosters, any sort of support they needed dealing with OYSA or anything like that, getting set up for tournaments, helping them get all the logistics going, and then also just providing support on the field about direction, game model, anything that has to do with the coaching part, just being a little bit more there for them. And then I think that opened up Blake, our technical director, and Bryce, our director of operations, to focus on a lot of the administrative things and things going on kind of behind the scenes, so they didn't have to spend time answering questions doing that. We were kind of that go-between for parents and the directors, and I think it worked pretty good for us this year. We're transitioning for next year we hired Victor Martinez to come on and help as well. We're gonna kind of rebrand, get rid of the age group coordinator, and just call us technical directors, with Blake being the director of coaching, kind of overseeing it all, and Bryce as our operations director. And then I'll be the technical director for all the boys groups, the 11v11 side. Some other things we did this year, just a lot of updates to our website, providing our yearly calendar for parents so they can go on and see what the plan is 6 months down the road, when we're taking breaks, when we're stopping, and just when we're doing tournaments. Those type of things are all on that yearly calendar. And that's another one of the good things I feel like we've done this year. Bryce has done a lot of work on our website to make it a lot more user friendly, a lot easier to find. The parent resources tab for parents and coaches on our website is just fantastic. Has so much information. About 70% of the questions I get from coaches or parents, I can just point them to that resource tab a lot of the times because that information is there. So if you haven't checked it out or you haven't used it, that'd be a great idea just to look at it and get familiar with it, because it really has a lot of great information for parents and coaches as well. We've added a lot of new forms and documents to the website to try and make that as easy as possible and have everything streamlined and in one place. So parents that need to fill out any sort of documents or forms, it's all on the website, and should be a little more user friendly this year. This following year, we've already switched to Adidas as for our uniforms and balls and things. When we started ordering equipment, our new balls should be showing up here in a while. They got delayed, I think, because of the color was out, but we started looking at new gear and stuff for the coaches and things like that. And so that should improve the uniform ordering experience. Adidas has a good reputation with that, so we're excited about that new partnership. Just some other things kind of going forward. Just happy about the club overall in general of the direction we went. I think the year before, when we looked at our goal differential, just overall as a club, we were at something minus 100 or close to 200 that way. And this year I haven't tallied it all up because a lot of our teams are still finishing their spring seasons. But we're by far in the other direction at plus over 100 goal differential and things. And a lot of that has to do, this 07 group was a big part of that, and we'll get to that in a second, but that's been one of my favorite things that I've seen out of this group this year. So that's kind of the infrastructure stuff that I'd like to go over. If you have any questions, once again, please feel free to speak up, but if not, I'll keep moving and go on to kind of go over this year a little bit. So our records and improvements for this 07 group, the academy team played in Premier Silver and were 8-1, 32 goals for and 3 against. So a plus 29 average, that, or goal differential, that is just fantastic. And those 3 goals, 2 of them were own goals, 1 was a PK, so not getting scored on in the run of play. And the boys just playing some fantastic soccer. To contrast that, last year they played in the same division, Premier Silver, and finished 5-4-1, 19 goals for, 16 against, so still a positive average, but just a much better results and just dominated the league this year. And so that was really fun to see. The 07 white team, same thing. They were playing in Division 2, finished 8-1-1, 23 goals for and 11 against. And that was just fantastic. Even more so when you look at what they did last year, playing Division 2, and they went 1-6-3, 9 goals for, 30 against. And so that turnaround is just amazing. We had a lot of new players come to the tryouts. We even had to let some players go just because we didn't have enough to form a third team. But just seeing that improvement at this age and that influx of players really makes this one of the strongest age groups that we have in the club. And so that was just great to witness this year. So kind of overall looking forward, I could see both teams moving up division next year. the academy team just left no doubt that they should be in Premier Gold, and there's nothing OYSA can say to stop us this year. I know we tried to kind of push that this year a little bit, but they kind of pointed at our record last year and said, we don't think that's best for you guys. But there's no doubt in my mind that we'll change that this year. And then the white team moving up into Division I. They dominated this year down there at Division II. I'm looking forward to them performing in President's Cup this year and seeing that competition. But talking with Eric, they seem to be hungry for more and hungry for a challenge, and so that's always a great attitude to see. Looking at the tournaments, we've kind of expanded. We have for the high schoolers, we have our normal Clash at the Border. We'll do our tryouts in May and kind of just keep training until the end of June when that Clash at the Border is. But we also wanted to offer some more travel tournaments, especially at this age, and our Navy team showing that they need or can handle some higher challenges. It would be good for them to travel and go experience just some new teams and some new experience from around the country and just around the region. So we do have the Crossfire tournament is at the end of June, or it's mid-July, but that's up in Seattle, and that's a great tournament. They have over 600 teams that come. I think that would be a great one for either team, really. I remember talking with Eric, and he had mentioned that the white team was kind of hungry to go to another tournament in the winter, but there's not. Most of the winter tournaments are college showcases and maybe a little bit too high a level, not appropriate for that. But if the white team is looking for more and wants to just get that travel experience, that's an option as well. And they have some lower divisions that would probably be a little bit more appropriate as well. Just because it's in the summer, they usually have more divisions, more teams coming. The winter ones are usually just all sort of A teams, college showcases, and that sort of such. So we'd be happy to talk with the white team, talk with all the parents, get it out there. If you guys chat and you guys are really looking like you want to get a travel experience, that's something that we can help you guys with. Also then in the winter, we have Pac Northwest in January, that we've gone through the last few years outside of getting snowed out this year. But we've also been looking at going to the Mayor's Cup in Vegas, which is early February. And I think that would be a great chance for these, for the Navy team, especially because teams from all over the country come to Vegas and come to this cup, and as well as college coaches as well, because it's a huge tournament. It's a destination place. I'm sure a lot of college coaches aren't going to turn down a recruiting trip to Vegas. So I think that would be a great option. Now it adds plane tickets, so it does add a little bit more expense. The local tournaments that we're driving to, like Alliance Showcase in December, which we'll go to again right after tryouts, and then Pac Northwest or Mayor's Cup, or both if the interest is there. But those local ones here in Oregon are usually $100, $150. The travel ones like Pac Northwest will be around $550, just because they include hotels for the coaches, food, paying for the chaperones as well. And then Mayor's Cup or any tournament that we want to fly to will probably be around 800 plus, just because we're adding in a lot more logistics, plane tickets, definitely more chaperone expenses as well. But if the interest is there, we are happy to try and accommodate. So that's something that we can talk about as a group, talk about as a team, after tryouts, we can figure out what we want to do, get that settled, and get you guys where you guys want to go. So that's kind of about looking forward to next year. I wanted to leave these last sort of 14 minutes to any parent feedback, any questions, anything that you guys might want to share. If you guys aren't comfortable in the public setting here, please feel free to give me an email, and I can address it, and we can at least have that and document it and get that added to our considerations. The one thing I forgot to mention, the coaching slate for next year, we're doing all these age group meetings and kind of trying to gather all this feedback from all the parents before we announce the coaching assignments, just in case there were some surprise or something we didn't really know about. We want to make sure we're getting as much feedback from the parents as possible before that can influence coaching decisions and who we want with certain groups, if groups aren't happy or groups are happy. So yeah, that's kind of it. I guess the other thing I might mention is tryouts this year with this group moving forward. I included the 06s as well, because I know we do have a few 06s that are on the 05 team right now that will be seniors in high school and still maybe want to play. OISA never has just a U18 league. It's always a U18-19, just because a lot of players drop off at this age or stop playing, and so they combine just to kind of fill out the group. So we'll follow suit, and if we have some 06s show up, we'll have that sort of U18-19 league and play there. We do have, if more kids show up like this last year, there's a possibility of a third team. If not enough 07s and 6s, there may be a chance for some 08s to move up and form that sort of 07, 06 Burgundy team, a third team in the age group. So it is an option. We'll just have to see what kind of numbers come to tryouts.
Hey, Chris, I appreciate all the work you put in with the kids this year. I agree that they played really well. I think it's just one state cup game, but I think the speed of play difference between gold and silver was, a little bit on display, because I think we had a little bit better technique and maybe even better game IQ, but the speed of play caught us off guard a little bit. So I'm a big supporter of going to some bigger tournaments. I think that allows us to, see people that we don't see all the time and play at some of those faster paces to get us prepared for, the gold Premier League, if that's what we're, shooting for. I'd be a fan of, doing more of those tournaments and fewer of the local tournaments if it came down to a cost thing. But I also know that there's a lot of opportunity to fundraise as long as we start early enough and we have a committed group. In our previous club life, it's amazing how much money you can raise to just offset some of those other travel costs, to kind of bring it down to a little bit more of an affordable picture for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. And with the State Cup, I agree. That was what I told the boys yesterday was, it reminded me of my youth, of growing up, of, it was a typical Portland team. Yeah, they're a bunch of big, strong, fast athletes, but they weren't playing any much better soccer than us. They just, have a giant pool of kids to go from. So they're always, have the best athletes in the area. But our soccer really showed up, especially in the second half. So that was fun to watch and really encouraging for me. Even, the result wasn't what we wanted, but it was an encouraging thing for me to saw, because it's not like they played us off the field or anything. It was quite the opposite, especially in the second half.
Hi, this is Jenna. I don't know if you can hear me here on
Yep.
Zoom.
Yep.
And I would say that I probably would support the fundraising too, because I do agree that with was it a $1,900 fee for the year, and then if we're throwing you know, $650, $800 tournaments on top of it, it probably is time to start some aggressive fundraising efforts. And I know that like we do a lot with like concessions at Oregon State and make lots of money in other sports. So that is a pretty easy outlet for it, but it's true that it is an obligation and people need to show up to help out. So it's kind of a big deal, but it makes a lot of money for club sports.
Yeah.
I
No.
can kind of chime in on that. We did do the OSU fundraising, concessions fundraising this fall, and we had, out of the whole club, we had 10 families show up. So the opportunity, you're right, the opportunities are there, but you really have to have people that are willing to do it. And I don't, as a club overall, I don't think we really saw that this year. So, I mean, what you're coming down to is probably a select few doing the fundraising efforts for the entire group, which is fine if we can get the people to do it. I just don't know that. I think we're going to burn some people out if we try and do it that way.
So in high school, what they do is they actually require a certain amount of attendance per player and family is how they do it. And that might be a way that might make participation increase as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to require it, I don't know. I'm not really the one to ask about that, but I mean, like, what's the consequence if you don't? Are we going to tell kids they can't play because their parents didn't fundraise?
I think what we did on our
Well-
other travel team, where we were going to Dallas and Phoenix and Florida, is that, you know, the team members that showed up and participated in the fundraising, they're the ones that split the earnings from the fundraiser. And so in that way, you know, team by team, it wasn't club wide like what you were talking about, but on a team by team basis, that kind of helped those who were really looking for some additional financial opportunities to meet that with some effort. And yet it didn't necessarily unjustly reward those who were sitting back and just kind of watching or not doing anything.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, I fully support that. I know the leadership has talked a little bit about kind of tweaking our scholarship process and requiring a little bit more fundraising participation from players that are receiving scholarship opportunities, because if they are benefiting from that kind of stuff, they should be you know, helping carry that load as well. And so there is some talks about that, but I agree with those cells of it's been a bit of a challenge getting parent participation in the things we have done in the past. So I think a concerned effort from the group would really help. And I definitely would fully support that idea of putting some stuff together, whether it's, you know, team manager led or really trying to push that, whether it's coming from that sort of the parent team managers or the leadership of the club. That's, you know, still kind of yet to be determined, but I think the more help we can get from parents with this kind of stuff, the just better it's all going to be. You know, because leadership, like I said, is doing all sorts of other stuff behind the scenes. So the more help we get from parents, just the better it all turns out.
I think if it's possible to come up with an idea of like what the expectations would be, like if we have X number of people participating, then we would need, you know, X number of positions filled on these weeks, etc. Part of the problem though is like when the fall, that's when the high school soccer team, at least at CHS, hits OSU fundraising hard. And and so you're like stretched pretty thin between club and high school sports, and that's part of the issue.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You know, people do fundraising, maybe not for the club, but they're, you know, doing it at other times for other things, like you said, the high school seasons. And so it can be hard to sustain that effort for an entire year.
Well, also the money's in football, which is when, during fall season, you're not going to get the same kind of money from OSU to do that stuff for a basketball game or a baseball game. There just aren't enough fans there to require the volunteers.
Yeah.
The other fundraising we did
Well-
was most successful in the summer, mainly because the schedules were a little bit lighter for everyone, so there was a better chance of us getting into it. Did I see or did I hear that OVFA is going to be doing a soccer tournament?
3v3.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, like, because we came from Salem, and the Capital Cup was a great opportunity for fundraising. We could regularly make a couple $1,000, based on just whatever ideas we came up with, just because it brought a bunch of people to one place and allowed us to kind of do something. And it was frequently a time where we weren't so involved in other things that we could have people show up. And if we knew exactly kind of what our goals were, how much money we would like to raise, it made it a little bit easier because you knew where that money was going. And so it's kind of easier to draw people into the mix to say, here's where that's going and here's why you need to be there.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Well, and what CHS is doing, I think it's with their soccer, if I remember right, is they're actually looking, probably like your scholarship fund, they're actually looking to create a fund that they can pull from annually and not have to keep doing the fundraising. So having even a loftier goal like that to set these teams up in the future so that you're not having to depend upon, parents and all these kids to show up for these fundraising events and every year is kind of nice as well.
All right, so I think we're kind of getting to our time limit here. I definitely like the talk and communication going on here. We will be sending out our kind of end of the year survey things. I think it's a great time to kind of continue to provide this information. And once again, I'd say if you guys have any other questions or anything or ideas, feel free to email me and I can kind of pass that along and get it all documented and make sure that we're hearing your thoughts and concerns, and we can try and address them and also give us some good ideas on maybe what we want to do for some of this fundraising stuff.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming to the
Thanks for
meeting.
taking the time.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. We'll see you guys at training.